So, hello Hangouts, YouTube, if you're watching this recorded, which is how you're going to be watching it if you're on this screen. And if you're on this screen, you can watch it live. Got to give it a minute or two for people to notice it. I just see one person. Hello, one person. Welcome to the show. Still working on some sort of medium whereby I can actually have it go live and people be there and see it right away. But in the meantime, I just go with a minute or two of leader, in which I wait for the numbers to appear. I see we have two people, and they seem to be real people because they both gave me a thumbs up. Thank you very much. All about the thumbs up. I held that so long so I could actually use it potentially as a screenshot. Let me get a thumbs up over here too, because I need to pick a scene from somewhere in the video and make that the scene. Okay, so we have some fun things to talk about. I even did research for this episode because I got a very interesting question from Jeff, and so I wanted to actually be able to answer it intelligently. Not that I don't normally answer intelligently, but I wanted to be answering especially intelligently. Yes. So questions we have for tonight that we're going to be talking about. Cable television, is it dead for advertising? Why or why not? Oh, I have a request for the cow. I have a request for the cow. So the cow will come. You'll get to see the cow. But I'm going to make you wait for it until we have a couple more people online. Speaking of which, something you should do for me to make sure people watch this show is you should share the video that you're watching right now. That way people will see that it's happening live right now. So there should be a share button down here somewhere. So I need you to click that and share it to your news feed so that more people will see it. As soon as I have 8 viewers, and this says 8 up here, I'll show you the cow. So we're getting there. Cow's coming soon. So topics. Cable television, is it dead? Now the question is how to convince the owner of a business the importance of advertising, specifically one who believes that because there are very few companies in the marketplace, that it's not necessary to advertise. Yes, that is the third item, is artists and makers, how to value your work and confidently state your price, and also the concept of exposure and paying your bills with exposure and people offering to pay you an exposure and all that. So those are 3 topics for tonight, plus whatever interesting questions people send us. But we're going to begin with, so I'm going to start with the second question, because I know the person who asked that is here and watching. So we'll start with that, and then we'll go back to the cable, because I don't know if Jeff is watching yet, or if he'll be watching at all. Who knows? Maybe he just dropped a question and ran. It was still a good question. So how to convince an owner of the importance of advertising, specifically one who believes that because there are only a few companies who do the same thing, that marketing is not necessary. So it said how to convince an owner. It said, did you mean to leave that as a comment, Amy? Or did you want to share and put that at the top of the share post? Just saying. So we had to convince, that gets into a whole sales psychology thing of what it takes to convince someone that they want to do something. But in terms of the arguments for it and how they might be confused and looking in the wrong direction, I will address that. So marketing in a crowded market, of course, you're going to do because you want to convince people that you're better. So in the printing industry, for example, there's a number of printers all over. You can't swing a dead cat. Really, you just shouldn't swing a dead cat. Just don't swing a dead cat. But if you were to swing a dead cat, you'd probably hit a printer with it. Don't swing a dead cat. That's just not cool. But they're all over the place. There's lots of them. Very crowded industry. So marketing in that is used to differentiate yourself, how your quality is better, your prices are better, something like that. But what about an industry where you're the only one who does it, or you're unique, or you're very differentiated? There's only 1 or 2 companies that do exactly what you do. Why would you need to market? You're the only one who does it. You got a monopoly on the industry. Well, Zig Ziglar has a great line about this, which I'll attempt to paraphrase, although I will not attempt to do his accent, and I will not be doing the Zig Ziglar accent. On the lines of, the man who builds a better mousetrap will starve to death without a salesman to sell it. So just because you have a monopoly on what you do doesn't mean anyone knows you have a monopoly on what you do. Yes, obviously, if you have the only water supply in town and you own the well, then yeah, everyone knows they need water. But if you have some kind of marketing tool, if you have a better mousetrap, so to speak, you have a car that gets 90 miles to the gallon, whatever it is, it could be an amazing invention, but if nobody knows about it, nobody is going to buy it, because they have to, first they have to know about it, second they have to believe that it does what you say it does. Both of these are marketing points. Causing belief is often gets into the selling, where you're more closing the deal and convincing people to really go along with it. So I just had a momentary thought where I wasn't sure I unmuted Hangouts. But I didn't. I'm good. But they have to believe it. Whatever it is that you're selling, people have to know about it. And it's easy to get it into your head that, of course, everyone knows what we do. Especially if you do have a number of clients and you are doing decently well. Obviously, all your clients know, and presumably all your friends know. But the number of times I've encountered, when I was selling cars, for example, when I was selling cars, I was out there on Facebook, I was out there on social media. I tried to make it a point that everyone knew I sold cars. And the number of times that I would talk to a friend of mine who says, "Oh, I just bought a new car," and I'd be like, "Great, cars, right?" And they'd be like, "Really? You sell cars? I had no idea you sell cars." No matter how much I tried to push the message out, these were friends of mine, sometimes relatively close friends, who had no idea, so they didn't buy from me. So no matter how much you think people know what you do, or think people know what your company does, they don't. Why? Because they don't care. They don't care unless you make them care. They have far more important things to worry about than what your company does, unless your company solves a problem that they have. And that's marketing, to convince them that your company does solve a problem they have. If you haven't got, it's not their job to know what your company does. It's your job, your company's job, to make sure the customers know and how you can solve their problems. If you're not doing that, no one's going to know about it. Now, sometimes companies will fall in the trap of thinking they have enough clients because they've got maybe a few big clients, and that pretty much pays the bills. If you have a few big clients and one of them goes out of business or changes the contract to go to someone else, maybe there's only 2 people in the country who do what you do, but that means there's one who isn't you, then suddenly you find yourself losing 20, 30% of your revenues, maybe laying off half your workforce. Just a disastrous impact on the company. And if you haven't been marketing, it's very difficult to make that up because you don't have the market position awareness to go out and say, "Hey, we need a new customer now," because they don't know. So that is my thoughts on convincing an owner of the importance of advertising. That most likely, if they are not convinced of the value of marketing, it's because they don't realize that they need it. They don't know they're missing out. They think they're doing well enough, or they think it's too expensive, which is another line, the same idea. And you need to convince them that there is value to be gained. Sales technique, trick, I guess I'll say, that I will suggest is that people are more afraid of loss than desirous of gain. So it is more effective to say you are missing out on this much business than you could get this much business. So framed as, we could probably bring in another $100,000 of business if we do marketing. Well, yeah, maybe we could, maybe we couldn't. It's going to cost this much. What's the probability? How much work? We are losing $100,000 a year by not doing this kind of marketing. Oh, we're losing it. Okay, well, how do we not lose it? So if you keep it in that loss frame instead of the gain frame, probably more likely to get get the results you're hoping for. Okay, next topic. Why am I losing my voice? Not a topic, but a question. Okay, next topic. Topic number 2. Still forgot to bring the bricks with the numbers on them. Maybe next week I'll remember. You're welcome. Hopefully that answered your question. So, next topic, cable television. Is it dead for advertising? If so, why? If not, why? Well, so I was thinking I would just answer this question myself, and then I realized I know people who know stuff. So if you give me a second to find the right thing on my desktop here. Oh, there it is. It's behind the phone. So I sent an email to Hillary, who works for Comcast, who I met through what else, a networking event, and I told her that I got this question of, is cable advertising dead? And I figured she'd probably have some fairly intelligent answers, and this is the response that she sent me. She said, cable TV advertising is not dead. In fact, cable TV has that are new throughout the year, even in the summer. Cable carries the #1 show right now, which is The Walking Dead on AMC. Along with many great TV shows and over 40+ networks a business can advertise in, cable has the many sports programming offerings on men and women's basketball, Monday Night Football, NASCAR, Red Sox, Yankees, Mets, NBA, NHL, and this year, the 2016 Summer Olympics, along with other great sports programming. People watch sports live. Cable TV is the most affordable of TV media for advertising purposes because we can either reach the entire state if it makes sense for a business, or we can target just the business's backyard and towns around it. So we are targeting people on a more local level. The average person watches 12 to 17 different networks based on their interests. We build TV schedules for clients based on their business, industry, demographic, target areas, and then send me this PDF, which you're not able to see, but trust me, it's great. It shows lots of information. The average American watches 4 hours and 27 minutes of live TV per day. There are 15 minutes of commercials in an hour. There are over 248 million adults in the United States. 26.9 billion TV commercial impressions per day. YouTube ads, on the other hand, are 25.2 million video commercial impressions a day. Now, let me pause there for a moment. The average American watches 4 hours and 27 minutes of live TV per day. I personally watch about 15 minutes, which means that someone's balancing that average and watching 8 hours a day. So Americans still watch a ridiculous amount of television, which I think is a problem, but it's not a problem for cable TV because people are certainly still watching it. And also the cable providers do provide impressions, that advertising on mobile, of course through television, but 37%. So it looks like 37% goes through television. So it's easy to fall into the perception trap that what you do is what everyone does. There are certainly some people who watch almost no live television. I'm one of them. We don't have cable TV here. Sports. I don't watch news on TV, which are two things you generally watch live. But just because I don't doesn't mean that the average person doesn't. So it all depends on who your target audience is. If your target audience, then you want to be on TV. If you are advertising to particularly, geeky, cutting-edge technology kind of people who have smart TVs and Netflix and YouTube and whatnot, and very rarely watch live cable or don't have live cable, and then cable's probably not the target, place to market that. That's when you would be using YouTube or Facebook advertising or something else. But you need to understand that not everyone does the same thing. I mean, people still make a living selling advertising on television, and people still build their businesses I, for the longest time, was thinking the radio was pretty much on its way out. I always listen to Pandora in the car until I realized that when I was doing short trips, it takes my phone about a minute to sync up, and I can't start streaming until it syncs, which means I basically need to sit in the car and stare at my phone for a minute or two, waiting for it to sync up. Well, I do a lot of trips that are under 10 minutes. I'm not going to wait for that. I'm just going to listen to the radio. So I now listen to the radio a lot. Commercial radio. I hear lots of commercials on the radio because the technology is just not there yet to replace 25 years ago. They were saying no one's going to listen to the radio anymore. Now cars have tape players. So obviously that didn't eliminate them. And then CD players. That didn't wipe out radio. So people are always going to listen to the radio. They're probably always going to watch TV. Now, it's going to evolve over time. There will certainly be a time where traditional cable live ads on things other than sports and news and other live events are going to diminish. That time has not come yet. It's at least 10 years off because the technology is not there yet. Now, if you want to watch sports, you pretty much have to watch it on live TV. If you're watching the news, you're probably watching live TV. There's no real good live news sources right now. There's a few that are pretty close, but they're not there yet, and it's a few years off. And then the other thing is that while technology is moving along, the live networks are not sitting still waiting to be. That's why you have shows like Talking Dead, which, for those of you not aware, The Talking Dead is the thing that comes on after The Walking Dead, where they cast the episode that you just saw. And that's the kind of thing. First off, I don't think they sell the rights to that to Netflix, so you can't go back and watch that. And second, part of the idea is to create this national dialogue. Everyone watches it together. Everyone wants to sit down at the same time and watch. Information gets pushed out. Shows, it is. I don't want to create any conspiracy theories, but people hate spoilers so much, and yet are talking after something happens. Walking Dead. I only got through like the first half of season 1, but I think they're in season 14 now or something. Someone apparently at the end of a cliffhanger, maybe he did, maybe he didn't, but everyone was talking about it, and everyone was kind of talking obliquely about it, but everyone was talking about it. So if you were a Netflix viewer and you're season behind, then. But even if you watch, you TiVo it, and you're going to watch it next week. Let's see, did I lose it? Are we still here? We're still good. Okay. Even if you got TiVo, you're going to watch it next week. There's still all this talk. Like, you feel like you're missing out. There's a whole conversation going on. You're not part of it because you don't have cable and you didn't watch it as it happens. 10 years ago, I would have been kind of upset about missing out. Now I've gotten older and I've realized it's TV. It doesn't matter that much. But there's a lot of people who don't want to miss out because they don't want to miss out. They're watching it live. They're seeing the commercials. Cable advertising is still happening. You may not be watching it, but other people are. It is still a place to put advertising. All right, that was topic number 2. All right, topic number 3, artists and makers, how to value your work, confidently state your price, and how do you eat exposure? This would be a great time to share this video again to all your friends and tell them I'm about to talk about eating exposure right now. Tell everyone. Ooh, my viewership just increased by 30%. Fantastic. And it dropped back down. So, how to value your work. If you make a thing, first, in order to set a price, you have to know what it cost. I did indeed have technical difficulties. My internet went, which is funny because I actually upgraded it. So I'm supposed to have 20 megabits upload. So that's disappointing. Can everyone see me? Are we good? Are we all on board? I hope. And if not, hopefully it's recording and will be posted for review later. That, of course, is the other reason why technology is not there to replace television, because this kind of thing happens, and they've yet to build a router, or I interfere with routers by my mere presence. but they've yet to build a router which is consistent. Hello, Melissa. Glad you are here. Thank you for joining us. So, artists and makers, how to value your work. You can set your price. You have to know what something costs. You need to sell it. Costs. Seems pretty obvious. And yet, your work costs. So there's two things. Is the materials. The other is the labor. So your labor is worth your highest value alternative. It's called the opportunity cost in economics. So if you have a job where you make $15 an hour, then your labor is worth $15 an hour. So if you put 1 hour and $15 of materials, an item, and you're going to sell that item's cost inputs are $30. 15 for the stuff and 15 for the you. So it cost $30. Now, a lot of artists are inclined to devalue themselves, putting their own work at 0 and the value of the items they put in at full value, and then doubling it, as you generally do to get from cost to price, and they will sell that item for $30, which means if they sell it, they get a profit of $15, and if they don't sell it, they've lost $15. Until they look at it and say, well, I made $15, which is what I would have made working my other job, but art is more awesome than my other job, which is why I do the art. So I came out ahead, except they don't sell everything that they make, and so they don't come out ahead. Because the reason that you double the price is you expect some items will not sell. Also, if you give someone a 10% discount and it's $27 now because you want to move it, well, now it's $12. Now you're getting less than the $15 that your time is worth. And only sell half things you make. Now you're getting $6, which is a lot less your time is worth. So you look at your item input, your physical inputs, you look at your labor inputs, you add them together, and you double them. Pretty simple math. Obviously, your results may vary. Your item may be worth more than that. Your item may be worth less, depending on what the market will bear and how much you really want to make it. Maybe you want to make something that people just aren't willing to pay that much for, but you really like making it. Well, that's the third part of value that comes into it. In addition to the money you can make from it, you enjoy making it. So that can be good. But fundamentally, it's $15 of labor, cost $30, sell for $60. In your mind, you should be thinking, this is a $60 item that I'm selling. If you're selling it for $30, you need to have it in your mind that you're selling it for half price already. Which means you don't discount it again. It's already half price. You've already marked it down 50% from the $60 that it's worth. Now, once you have that fixed value, it is worth $60. You can move from there. So maybe you're thinking, okay, I know it's worth $60, so I'm going to mark it down $10 to $50 because I want to move it. I want people to feel like they're getting a deal. All right, someone comes to your table at a fair, and you've got a $60 price tag on there, and they look at it, and they say, $60. And you say, yeah, but I'll tell you what, I can do it for $50. You know, that's the haggling you get in that kind of fair environment. Now you've got the room to do it. All right, you sell it for $50. You're still $35 ahead of the materials cost. You've really gotten your money's worth. You've gotten your money's worth for being there. Because keep in mind, not only did it take you an hour to make it, but you also had to sit at the table at the fair to sell it. So you got to get paid for that as well. But the most important thing is, so now you set your price at 60. So you've got your item, and I'm going to use this box. This is not an artistic thing. This is just a box. But it's a placeholder for an artistic item. And let's say that I spent $15 on the material and 1 hour at $15 an hour. And again, this also depends on how you value your time. 15 is a good benchmark number. Yours might be higher. But the inputs are 30, you sell for 60. And someone comes up and they say, so how much is that thing? You say, 60. You don't say, well, it's 60, but we can do it for 45 or 40 or 30 if you like. 60. All right. If you bought the item wholesale for 30 and you're supposed to sell it for 60, you're not going to tell them, well, it's 60, but we can do 50 or we can do 40. No, because you put out money for it. You understand its value. But when the value is yourself, then artists often will devalue themselves and not realize that their time is just as valuable as their money, sometimes more so. You can get more money, you can't get more time. So they don't say it's worth what it costs. Because that's the thing too. If you say 60, but I could do less, the discounts are worth that much. You give the perception that it was overcosted to begin with, overpriced to begin with, and you're bringing it down to the price, as opposed to giving the impression that 60 is the right price, but because you don't want to carry all this stuff home, I'm willing to give up a little bit of the price it should be 60. I'll sell it for 50 left in the fair, and it's kind of heavy and I don't want to haul it around. So that's that. So then one exception to that is if you're trying to establish market share. Share is a funny thing, depending on the item. If you're going to a fair that you're never going to go to again, market share is worthless. Because these people aren't going to, unless there's a way for them to follow up. If you have a website, if you have a unique item and you have other items like it that are on your website, then you might sell them one less expensively or have a discount at the fair because you want to get them into your web. There's a word for this and I can't think of what it is. But anyway, into the world of your website and make them a customer so that you can then get their email address and get them to like you on Facebook and pull them into your selling world. But otherwise, market share is not often worth as much as you might think it is. Which brings me to another concept, which I've been looking forward to talking to all day, which is exposure, which is another idea which is not worth what people think it is. Some people think it is worth more than it is. Some people think it is worth less than it is. Oh, wait, we have a question. Can't go to exposure. You have to wait for the exposure answer. What is the next step when you don't control the price and the other person absolutely cringes at the price, other than going, well, see ya? So you may remember from previous episodes, if you watch them, the upside down triangle. Do I still have the triangle? I'm like, oh, here it is. The upside down pink triangles. So from top to bottom, we have rapport building, needs analysis, presentation, close. So most salespeople sell this way. Little bit of rapport building, tiny bit of needs analysis and presentation, and then fighting for the close at the end. But what you should be doing is a lot of rapport building. A lot of rapport building, and then the rapport leads to the needs analysis. So once you've established the rapport, questions more easily, then the presentation shows that the needs that they've established, your product solves those needs. And once you've done that, it's kind of like trying to prove a case in court, And so, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, as you can see, obviously my client could not possibly have done it because he was in the alien spaceship at the time. And the jury says, oh, that makes sense. We must acquit. Same thing. If you need to establish everything ahead of time and then determine the value. So, Melissa, since I know what you sell, I can imagine how people might be shocked by the price of it, but you need to break it down to terms they can understand. So if I recall correctly, the Beachbody shakes are like $4 per serving, and they are basically a meal replacement, and they're a very healthy meal replacement. So if you look at it that way, well, going to Dunkin' Donuts and getting, I think it's 2 donuts and a coffee and hash browns is $4.14 or somewhere about there. So compare $4 at Dunkin' Donuts for 2 donuts, a hash brown, for 2 donuts, a hash brown, and a coffee. Compare that to, to a healthy, health improving meal replacement. They're both the same cost. So you think nothing of going to Dunkin' Donuts every morning and spending $4, 22 work days in a month. So that's $88. So $4 a day on a healthy, healthy meal replacement versus $4 a day at Dunkin' Donuts. It's the same as $4, but if Dunkin' Donuts asked you to spend $88 at the beginning of the month, I don't like donuts that much, but same number of dollars, same concept. So you need to break it down instead of saying, like I run into that with BNI sometimes. Well, BNI is a phenomenal organization, and I have gotten sales from it. I think I've already, in the half year I've been part of it, doubled, tripled what it cost to be part of it. We weren't even up and running until 6 weeks ago. So even before it got up to speed, it was phenomenal. But it's about $450, $500 to join it for a year. You're like, $500? Holy moly, that's a lot of money to join an organization. But we meet 52 weeks a year. That means we're paying about $9 a week, right? $9 a week isn't that bad. $500 a year, whew, that's a lot. $9 a week, I can do $9 a week. When I sold life insurance, I sold a lot of $30, $45, and $60 policies, because I wouldn't say $60 a month. I would say $2 a day. For $2 a day, you can protect your family. And they'll be like, oh, well, $2 a day, I can do $2 a day. Great, that's going to be $65. Sign here. But you don't present it as $65. You present it as $2 a day. And we always like to do it by the week, 0.33 weeks in the month, and people don't realize that. So if you say something's going to be $25 a week, they assume it's $100 a month. And then when it's $115 a month, they say, whoa, what happened? You say there's 4.33 weeks in a month. There's not 28 days in a month, right? And they're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Okay, sure. But yeah, you don't just want to whack them with the, this is going to be $200 a month, bam. You want to break it down and say it's $50 a week, or it's $10. It's $10 $10 a day, or $7 a day, or whatever it is, $4 a day. If you break it down in that way, it's a little. Once you're getting over $2 a day, it's a little tougher to sell, because $2 a day is the coffee threshold. A coffee at Dunkin' Donuts is about $2, so is it worth a cup of coffee at Dunkin' Donuts to whatever? You get to $4 is a bit more of a commitment, but if you've built the value, and also if you've gotten them answering the questions the way you want them to answer them. So, are you happy with your health as it is? I'm sure that they have a whole series of questions to walk you down this road. But for example, are you happy with your health the way it is now? No. Well, that's probably why they're meeting in the first place. Would you like to improve your health? Yes. Do you believe you need to improve your diet? Yes, I do. Do you get enough exercise? No, I don't. Do you need help to get better nutrition? Do you need better tools? Yes, I do. Okay. It costs $4 a day. Before that, back up a step. Would you agree that it is worth $4 a day to improve your health and achieve your goals? If someone's aware of what you're doing, they'll be like, well, I don't know, how much is $4 a day, and they'll do the math. But most people, if you say, is it worth $4 a day to improve your health, improve your lifestyle, they're probably going to be like, well, yeah, $4. I mean, I spent $20 on beer last night. Yeah, I'll spend $4 a day to improve my lifestyle. I mean, that's nothing. You say, great. Well, $4 a day is $124 a month, if I did my math right. So $124, and that just happens to be how much this costs. Or $5 a day, if it's going to be more than that. And then you go, oh, we have a cameo.
I'm just getting her pajamas.
Come on over.
Naked baby.
It's a naked Rowan. We have a surprise Rowan appearance. Say hi, Rowan.
Hi.
Rowan, I am teaching them about breaking down prices.
A book. A book.
And you are teaching me about your foot.
Wait. A book.
See? Yep, that's her foot. She's very excited about it.
Foot.
Yeah, I thought throwing a cameo in here might be. See, now I'm going to have people watching next time and be like, when's Rowan coming in? Blah, blah, blah. When's the baby coming?
Can you say bye-bye, Rowan?
Bye.
Say goodbye. Wave.
Bye, everybody.
Say bye. Can you blow kisses? Very good.
And that's what you all really watch for. There's a cat in here, too. It's not Rowan, but I also have an adorable kitty. Okay, that's not the cute. So, break it down. Break down the prices into something easily digestible. That's my answer to that question, and apparently you like it, so that's good. Exposure. Now I finally get to talk about exposure. So I want to talk about this because actually I saw a fantastic picture online. For any of you who watched Steampunked, the show on GSN, I believe it was, I was some friends of mine are friends with Taylor Forge, who was one of the steampunks who was on Steampunked. And so I started following her Facebook as well. Hello, Lily. And she posted a fantastic picture which shows a plate with exposure on it, like printed out, and her with a knife and fork looking very confused, wondering how she was going to eat exposure. So exposure is an interesting thing. I will first point out that you may all notice that you have not paid for this webcast, and I have not asked you for money, which means I am working for... So exposure is not completely worthless, but it's a matter of where someone is in their career as to whether or not exposure is something that is valuable, and it's also a question of what is the exposure and to whom. So there's actually two things that someone who's early in the career can benefit from. One is exposure, and the other is practice. Experience, because they both start with E, so we get to eviscerate. So that's part of the reason why I do this show. It gives me practice, being able to speak intelligently on topics and not have a lot of dead air and not go and to get some feedback on when I was boring and when I was useful, and also to get exposure, because as people watch the show, as they go back and watch the videos, they can be like, oh, this guy's a guy we might want to bring in to speak to our sales team or to speak to our organization, what have you. So in that way, exposure is valuable, but the thing is, it has to be used strategically. So I'm doing it as part of my strategy. Obviously, as I do this more, my need for exposure will decrease. The amount I'm willing to do for free will decrease. The problem is that exposure is often used by cheap people who want to get very talented people to perform for free without paying them. And so they offer exposure. Now, it depends on what kind of exposure. So if you're talking about a band that plays little, dive bars and has audiences of 3 people in front of them plus the drunk guy in the corner, and a convention that can get them an audience of 50 to 100 and a merch table says, we'd like to have you perform. We've seen your video and we'd like to have you perform and have a merch table, and we can get you an audience of 50 to 100 people. Then it'd be good exposure for you. Well, that is a step up. That's an improvement. That's really exposure. But very often, it's an event Phone's still good. Did you know? Can you still see me? It says my connection's weak. Or it says my words are weak. I'm not sure which. No, I seem to still have viewers. Okay. Okay, we're good? All right. Yes, first step to exposure, make sure your technology works and people can see you. Yes, we're back. Okay, so you did lose me for a bit. So this is not helping me with the habit I have of repeating myself when I have to actually repeat myself. But so if you're early in the business, then you need to get exposure. That's what marketing is for. It's paid exposure. That is a positive thing. It's the reason why people say, "Oh, you'll get great exposure," but it needs to actually be worth something. I work with the Groton Fall Festival, which is an event that draws about 5,000 people in Groton. And there are some people who approach me and says, "I would like to perform at the event in exchange for a booth," which is literally, "I would like to perform at your event for exposure." But the important thing, if you're an event organizer and you think that someone might be at the phase where they need exposure and could benefit from it, be ready to sell it. Don't think that you're so awesome that the privilege of being exposed to your event is worth is worth their time. Because remember, unless they live on site, chances are there's going to cost them money. They got to spend money to get there. They might have to rent equipment. They might have to spend gas. They might have to stay in a hotel, motel, whatever. There's all kinds of costs they're going to have, which means if you're not paying them, they are paying to be at your event. But even if they have no cost, you're still taking their time. So there is a cost to them. So you need to think about what is the value proposition that you offer. So yes, exposure can actually be something you offer someone, but it better really be some kind of exposure. When I ran I'm still running the New London Third Thursday Art Walk, we looked for one sponsor. The sponsor paid us to be the main sponsor. They literally paid for exposure. That's what marketing is, paying for exposure. But I wanted to make sure if I was taking someone's money to be a sponsor, that they got maximum possible exposure. If you go to the Facebook page, it is Third Thursday New London Art presented by JCR Technologies. Because I was going to have one sponsor and I was going to put their name on all over it. So the name of the Facebook event has their name in it. It's in the cover image. It's on all the maps. Their name is all over it. JCR Technologies of Norwich, who's a great company. They will come to you and fix your technology, whether it's a iPad, iPhone, computer, whatever. See, I'm going to give them a plug right now because they paid me to expose them. Wait, that's not what I meant. Not to expose. They paid me to get their name out. So if I'm running an event and I have someone who's coming to perform, or I'm trying to get them to perform, then I'm not going to say, "Oh yeah, come on, it'll be great exposure." I'll actually say, we have so many people, not an event I work for, but hypothetically, we have 10,000 followers on our Facebook page and 6,000 followers on Twitter, and I will make sure that we mention you 6 times leading up to the event on both Facebook and Twitter. You're going to be prominently displayed in the programming, you're going to be prominently displayed in the advertising, and some of the promotion that we do for the event will specifically promote your appearance at the event. So that's the kind of thing where that's almost co-branding as level of exposure. The thing is, Ann says, I've never had a great experience working for exposure. That's because usually if someone is offering you exposure, it's because they're cheap and want you to work for free. Thinking about what they're thinking about, what you can do for them and how they can not pay you for it. So that's the main issue. Most people, and unfortunately it gives a bad name to the legitimate exposure opportunities. There are certainly places where you can punch above your weight by not paying. Going into the speaking realm, I'm giving a talk in Mystic at the Mystic Knowing Library on the 25th. Not paying, it's free. The library's not paying me. The attendees aren't paying me. Absolutely free. Just me sharing my knowledge for free. Yes, I have other things I could be doing with myself at 7 o'clock on a Wednesday night, but I'm going to be there giving the talk them volunteering to do. But at the same time, if another library would call me up and say, hey, Michael, we heard that you gave a free talk at the Mystic Knowing Library. We'd love you to come and give that same talk here, also for free, I'm in. Okay, because that already fits into my strategy. I'm looking to give as many of these exposure opportunities as possible. But you have to figure out in your strategy you need. And it's entirely possible, depending on what it is you do, that exposure may be completely worthless to you. If you, especially if you make something, chances are all of your work to someone to give away will not get back to you, because most likely, and I see this a lot with jewelry, for example. That's often for a raffle or something. I'll ask a vendor who makes stuff to donate something to the raffle, and they'll do it, which is great. But they don't think about how is my name going to attach itself to this item and get all the way to the person. So I'll get, say, a necklace with no name tag, no business card, nothing on it, so that someone will say, oh, I love this necklace. Where can I find more of this work? So the exposure is a valuable thing, but you need to make sure there's a way to tie that back so the people who see it can actually be exposed to you and discover, okay, there's more of this. I like this. I want to see more of it. And it has to be integrated in that way. So if someone were to contact you and say, come work at my event for free, or come do whatever you do, come volunteer at it, it'll be great exposure. You need to ask how. How is it going to be great exposure? Am I going to be in front of an audience larger than the audience I would normally be in front of? Are you going to co-promote me with your event? Are you going to put me on some of the flyers that you're putting out? Are you going to put me on some of the Facebook ads, on some of the whatever? Where is that exposure? Because that can certainly happen. As I said, a band, for example, is used to playing dive bars, and an event's going to be advertising on television, and on each of their television, radio, and internet ads, they'll say, the XYZ event featuring ABC band and XYZ band, which of course, if it's the XYZ event, you got to have the XYZ band, same name, featuring the ABC band, and then your name's getting all over there, and they see it in the big way, but they got to think about it, and people have to stop using exposure as a buzzword for volunteer for me for nothing. So, any questions, comments, concerns, or any more compliments on my wonderful haircut? Speaking of the haircut, I didn't actually pay for it, oddly enough. Interestingly. It is probably the best haircut I got in a very long time. And I got it because we ended up trading it. It's for the Art Walk's a trade of fantastic haircut for an upgraded listing in the because that was a wonderful example of arbitrage. Arbitrage is a big fancy word for this costs you more than, or it would cost me more to buy than it costs you to make, and so we can meet in the middle. Now, the other great thing is that I will probably, when I run out of opportunities to trade for haircuts from Angie, who gave me the haircut at Bravado in New London, I will probably start paying her for haircuts because she did a really good job. I forgot to brush my hair this morning. It still looks good. Like, that's a good job. But that was a great example of a place where money didn't need to be exchanged because I had something of value to offer her, she had something of value to offer me, and we both end up quite a bit ahead of where we would have been otherwise. So that's another thing to consider, is that those opportunities do exist, and be aware of them. I need to Periscope next haircut. Unfortunately, because she's such a good, I guess you say barber, like hairstylist doesn't really sound right for a men's haircut. But she's so good at it, she gives a lot of attention. It takes about an hour. So it would be a really long, slow process to watch to watch that the in-depth artistic process that she engaged in to give me this fantastic haircut. So I'm open to Periscope my next haircut if people, if people want to watch me get my haircut, then I'm open to that. Artist exchange at the end of the con, trading stuff for other stuff. There's no verb. I know what Periscope is. I discussed it in the last show. Yeah, Periscope is Twitter. For those who don't know, Periscope is Twitter Live, as opposed to Facebook Live, which is Facebook Live, and Hangouts on Air, which is YouTube Live. I find that Facebook Live works best. It doesn't do quite as good a job of roping in your friends who happen to be online. Of course, when the internet does a poor job of actually getting it from the device to the internet, then we have a problem. I may need to call my cable provider and get a new router, because I think I dropped some people who would have watched otherwise. All right, so we have some demand to have me live tweet my next haircut, which won't happen for another 2 months, but I'll live tweet anything. Well, I won't. No, I'd probably live tweet anything. There's some things that Periscope would probably not smile upon me live tweeting, or that aren't legal. Yeah, no, I'd live tweet a haircut. I'll Periscope a haircut if that's what people want to see. Yeah, totally do that. And that brings us to roughly the end of the hour. My next show will be tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. on WBLQ.net and 12:30 a.m. if you are near the Westerly area, but more likely WBLQ.net live streaming. Which reminds me, I do need to upload some of my episodes to the website, but not tonight, because tonight I need to get ready for Steampunk World's Fair that I'm going to this weekend. Probably do a live show from there as well, because I can now go live from my phone in Steampunk World's Fair. How can I not do that? But tonight I need to get all the Concardia stuff ready, because there's a bunch of Concardia stuff to do. Concardia used to be a business. Now it's just a hobby. But it's an awesome hobby. And just takes up a tremendous amount of time leading right into it. So with that, thank you all very much for watching. Thank you for watching live or recorded, because Facebook does record this. And thank you, camera's here, thank you for watching on YouTube. Have a wonderful night, everyone. See you next week. Send me your questions.